Alrighty, there we are. Let's load this and get into it. Hey, Bear. Hi, hi. Okay, what's with this delay? That was weird, but okay. Here we are. When I get out of the bath, all the lights in the room are off. Hey, Sami. The covers on the bed shuffle around. Stop pretending to be asleep. What are you getting cold feet for? Though I reprimand her for her anxiety, I gulp down some water to steady my nerves. Hey, Bancho. I'm sitting down. Look, I'm surprised too. I never thought I'd be sleeping with someone like you. I lie on top of a Sami. Okay, we're getting down to the deed? Like, what? Really? Something is what? Uh-huh. Okay. We do love starting strong with these scenes. Jeez. Yeah, it does that. For some reason, my heart is burning with desire. Ooh. Yeah. Yep, Zick. Oh my god. I can hold back the need to make this girl mine. Oh, really now? Okay. It's nothing like my earlier desire to subjugate my enemy's daughter. It's more gentle, more peaceful. Thank God for that. At least there's that. Thank God. I'm sorry. It shouldn't go too far because it's the Steam version, okay? We trust you, Steam. In you, we trust. You're not interrupting, Seku. Please stay. Sami, without any hesitation, reached, yeah, for a certain area. Fantastic. Oh god. Why is she so cute though? This is adorable. Oh gosh. Shut up. Hey, don't run off now. No one said that. That's one way to put it, okay? She's completely unhinged. Okay. Thank goodness we skipped past all that. Thank you. Thank you, Steam. After we're done, we lie down in each other's arms for a while. Sami eventually gets up and cheerfully dresses. She smiles. Remember what? I'm pretty sure I never promised anything like that. I went to the Sanno Corporation headquarters yesterday. I met a guy named Iwai on the rooftop there. Yuya-san. You seem to be acquainted with him. Iwai Yuya. Okay. He's a young green employee at Sanno. His family has been taking care of you, is that right? His father was one of Sami Yoshinori's subordinates. Apparently, Iwai's father respected yours quite highly. She looked down awkwardly. Anyway, this Iwai guy suddenly called out to me. He asked me if I'd been the kid who years ago had met a girl named Usami right there on the rooftop. Iwai had come to Sano's headquarters to see his father too those days. Apparently, he saw us a few times. He seemed like a really sincere guy. Somehow her use of his given name got on my nerves. Why? She still added san at the end, so it's respectful. Okay. Anyway, while I was talking to him, I remembered the whole thing.
Azai-san, あなた、心因性健忘症にかかっているというのは本当ですか?
Psychogenic what?
いきなり記憶が飛んだりするような病気だそうです。
It is true that I'm forgetful, but all I could do was laugh.
よく頭痛がひどいと。
Did Akimoto diagnose me with that? I don't know. Doctors like to throw around serious diagnoses for the most trivial things.
とにかく一度よく見てもらってください。
I'll give it a thought when I have the time. I'll be busy with Gonzo's funeral and such for a good while.
やはりお亡くなりになったんですね。
It still doesn't feel real to me. I feel like I'll get a call from him any second telling me to come report on the family business.
少し疑問があるのですが。
What?
あなたが病気にかかっているという話はゴンゾーさんから聞いたんです。
You met with him?
つい昨日の晩に屋敷を訪ねました。ユキを許していただけるようお願いに上がったんです。
What the hell? You know good and well Gonzo doesn't take requests.
しかしすでにゴンゾーさんの興味はユキにはありませんでした。そこで電話がかかってきたんです。
Wait a second. Was that?
あの電話はあなたからだったんですね。
I think back on last night's events. After I left Sanno's headquarters, my phone suddenly rang. I was dumbfounded. The call was from my brother, who was supposed to be dead. Maou said he had something to talk to me about, and that I should come to the harbor. It shook me up so much that I forgot my current status with Gonzo and reported it directly. I told him that I wasn't Maou, but now that I think about it, that was Mao's trap. He used me as bait to bring Gonzo to the wharf. Maou intended to kill both of us.
港ではどんな出来事が?
Gonzo brought his best men and waited for Maou. He seemed to realize it was a trap. Yeah, which is why I still don't understand what happened there, because like if he realized it was a trap and all of that, why would he just like get out and allow himself to be shot? I don't get it.
しかし、撃たれてしまった。
Yeah, he stepped right into the crosshairs. Willingly. Somehow. Yeah, when I showed up in a cab, he suddenly jumped out of his car. It doesn't make sense. Usami's face suddenly grew stern.
遠くからライフルで狙撃されたと聞きましたが。
Yeah.
ゴンゾーさんは、浅井さんが現着するまで、車の中に身を隠していたんですか?
Probably. Gonzo's car windows are tinted pretty heavily, so it wouldn't be possible to aim for someone inside.
では、なぜ飛び出してきたんですかね?
My question exactly. And he, like, at least pretended to think that Maou was Kyosuke, because like he was yelling Kyosuke's name, right? I have no idea.
わからない?
She put on reproachful airs, but seemed to hide a touch of sadness in her eyes. It was a strange expression overall.
そうですか.
What?
いいえ、きっと自ら身をさらけ出すことで、魔王の位置を探ろうとしたんでしょう。
Right, it's a possibility. His subordinates were fearfully quick to move after he went down. I'm not sure whether to call it brave or reckless. It's no wonder he was the boss. She stares firmly at me. What? Cut it out. My fingertips were trembling ever so slightly. No way, it couldn't be. It's true that I showed up unprepared, and I didn't even know Maou was aiming at us with the rifle, but... Kyosuke, if you show up unprepared, you're going to die. Those words tore through my eardrums and violently shook my entire body. Wait. Is this going where I think it's going? Because that's... Okay, that's unbelievable. No way, there's no way. Gonzo's last moments are still fresh in my memory. Oh, okay, so, wow, okay. He actually is shot, sure. That's an interesting expression, not sure what I should make of it. Father, the beast fell to the ground. He stared at me with anger in his eyes. When I tried to get closer, my knees shook. I'll call an ambulance. The wounded beast's raw intimidation froze my body in place. He foams from the mouth as blood spurts out. Huh? You die, don't be so rash. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't even imagine this mountain of a man would die before me.
Maou.
I thought it was strange that no one came to help the boss as he lay dying. It was an impossibility to a Yakuza squad. Honor and duty flow through their veins. Is this the power of the organization you've created? He seemed somehow happy about it all. Nothing in this world could withstand the assault of the temptation poised by money and power. Azai Gonzo was likely satisfied on his deathbed, knowing that his life's philosophy was indeed a law of the cosmos. But why is he talking about the dead now, of all times? Nevertheless, Azai Gonzo's eyes told me to crawl out from the depths of hell to take back that money. No, there's no fucking way. I clenched my fists and denied the possibility. Sami, you can spout those cute little fairy tales because you didn't know Gonzo. You better listen here. Gonzo was the type of asshole who could knock a man out the first time he met him, then guzzle down liquor as he watched him bleed. And then tell me to violate canon to tame her all in one sitting. He did do that. That is a thing that happened. And when Tsubaki's kid brother was kidnapped, he beat me silly. And he never saw canon as anything but a source of income. Right, and he was a demon to my mother, too. He was Azai fucking Gonzo, a fearless, cold-blooded son of a bitch. That night I had stepped out of the taxi unprepared. Oh, Jesus. So it is that. He did it to distract the attention away from Kyosuke and protect him. Immediately thereafter, Azai Gonzo fiercely roared at me. Surprised, I ducked down.
Kyosuke!
There's no way he'd forgive you for that outrage. Not a chance in hell. The manner in which he lived his life, no, the manner in which he died, would never forgive it. Your delusions are blasphemy toward Azai Gonzo. If I don't deny her insinuation, I feel I'll go insane. In the several years I followed Gonzo, not once did he show an ounce of kindness. Every day, every goddamn day was about money. Livestock who couldn't provide were merely beaten. Last night I dashed away from my father as he submitted to his death throes. I left behind the man who beat me in this dark philosophy. Into this dark philosophy. Understood. 50 million, right? 50 million, right? Those were my last words to him. To the very end, it was about money.
Azai-san.
She's calling me.
泣かないでください.
I was kneeling on the floor with my hands clasped together. Please. Gonzo's image floated before my clasped hands, laughing at me from the farthest reaches of hell. Give me back my innocent child's eyes. Let me believe my horrific father protected his son at the very end. Please. Which is the truth, Gonzo? Did you jump out of the car just to settle your fight with Maou? Or could it be... A bestial roar echoed through my mind. No, not a roar, it was merely the wailing of a starving cub. I wailed and wailed, but my father never came back from the hunt. No matter how long I waited, he never came back. Alright. I seem to have fallen asleep. There's a soft sensation on my head.
おはようございます。もう朝ですよ。
Yeah, I thought it was that. Apparently I slept in Usami's bosom. I'm strangely thirsty. It's already 8 in the morning. Fuck.
どうされました？学園に行かれるんですか？
I have to make arrangements for Gonzo's funeral. The big bosses of the Soa Alliance will be there, so I can't afford to miss it. What's going to happen to the Sonoyama group? Will Horibe or someone else take Gonzo's place as the 5th boss? Or will someone from another group take over Sonoyama's place in Soa?
わかりました。もう行かれるんですか？
Yeah, I'll be back for a bit tonight. Until then, make yourself at home.
残念です。私の手料理をご馳走しようと思っていましたのに。
Sounds gruesome. Later.
あ、お見送りに。
I run out the door and Usami follows me. Oh? Well, hello. Tokita and Shiratori. After going down the elevator and dashing through the lobby, I bump into them.
おはよう、京介くん。春はどうだった？
How was Haru? What kind of question is that? She had that gorgeous grin plastered on as usual, and today it seemed determined to beat out even the winter sky. How?
食べたんでしょ？姉さん、朝だよ。そうだ、場所をわきまえろ。人の家の前だぞ。あら、春、いたのね。
Tokita seemed almost sad as she twiddled her bangs.
お父さん、亡くなられたわね。
Yeah, and thanks to that we can walk about freely again. I'm going to be really busy for a while, battles over succession and whatnot, so I have no business with you.
お母さんも。
Yep, she's dead too. You heard this from Usami, I take it? Spare me the pity, I don't need your comfort.
そうね。それは春の役割だもんね。
She really does seem down. Will you be in prison starting tomorrow, Tokita? What a casual morning conversation. Everybody died. Will you be in prison? How was Haru? Oh, God.
ご挨拶ね。
Do as you wish, it's none of my concern.
ええ、好きにさせてもらうわ。
Still, I feel like I ought to tell you that your little stint in the slammer isn't going to do anyone any favors. I'm sure you know that already, though. What? Say something. Think about it, Tokita. Even the biggest victim in this, your arch-nemesis director Shiratori, doesn't want this to go public. If you hand yourself in, the hostage case comes to light. Shiratori and Usami seem to be fond of you as well. No one involved in this case wants to report you, and the police have better things to do. Even if you do turn yourself in, you might not be prosecuted.
のりこ先生と橋本くんは違うわ。
Yeah, maybe. Miss Noriko was dragged into it and Hashimoto was your accomplice. I have no idea about them. Usami spoke up.
ユキ、考えを変える気はないのか？姉さん、思い直して。のりこ先生には一緒に謝ろう。きっと許してくれるわよ。
Tokita shook her head with a sour expression.
京介くんが言っているようなことはずっと考えていたわよ。
Oh? For some reason, I was annoyed. Usami will lose her only lifelong friend and Shiratori will be all alone again. Your dad was finally promoted, but he'll be back to the boondocks before you can say lickety-split. The only thing you'll gain by handing yourself in is self-satisfaction. You've got this big sense of justice there, huh? The usually talkative Tokita kept quiet and listened to me. You committed a crime. The textbooks would say you should hand yourself over. But before you atone for your crimes in prison, you'd best pay off your debts.
Okane?
Tokita seems to have been taken by surprise after all. Thanks to you, members of the Sonoyama group left their scheduled work and kept busy a whole night. With labor costs, the warehouse's electricity bill for the night, and consolation money, it would be more than just 1 or 2 million. Hey, Kennedy, how are you? It's going, I guess. I guess we're seeing more or less the aftermath of the night before, or like the events before as well, even from the previous chapter. Tokita's face twitches. Anyway, turn yourself in after you've paid it off in full. If you run off to jail before that, I'll take what I need from your family. Yeah, it's perfect timing. I glare at Shiratori, making sure Tokita notices. If you really want to find out, try running to the cops. My mother just died, you see. I'm a little on edge. She moans and inspects my body. She must be doing her psychological crap again, trying to figure me out. Anyway, there are questions I have about Maou that I think you could answer. Don't go running away. I had no time for idle chatter. I leave the three girls behind and head for Gonzo's estate. Black suits were lined up outside the house. Shoveling my way through the numerous greetings and sharpened stares, I finally made my way to the entrance. First things first, I ask about the funeral plans. The wake is tomorrow and the memorial service is the day after. Gonzo's body was taken to the ceremonial hall in the Soa Alliance. The Soa Alliance uses when its leaders die. I took care to make any necessary calls, return anything Gonzo might have borrowed, arrange for food at the ceremonies, order flowers, etc. Basically, I was the lackey. When I finally built up the courage to talk with the top dogs of Soa, the anxiety nearly made me vomit. Oh gosh. Not a single person openly lamented Gonzo's death. They all seemed more relieved than anything else. It just goes to show how many people kept their distance from feared Asahi Gonzo. The word Maou was thrown around a bit as well. Word seemed to have spread that Maou was my brother, Samejima Kyohei. Hidden talent? Yeah. After the funeral is done and forgotten, they'll be questioning me about it. Maou. I lost myself in work, silently moving my body. Oh, she said it so cutely. What the heck? I returned to my room and Usami seems to have made herself at home. We're not newlyweds. Wait, what's that burning smell? Yeah, well, at least you didn't set the building on fire. I lost the will to tease her. Yeah, but I have to head back at about 9. No. Why do I like this woman again? Oh, God, there he goes again. Did Tokita say anything? I'll talk with her tomorrow. I wanted to make you a dinner, but I had to settle for burning your apartments. That's a good one. Sure. In all reality, though, there's too much to be done to kick back. Now that Gonzo is dead, the Asahi Corporation is through. Maybe I'll listen to some music. I haven't done that in a while. I skimmed through my CD rack. I want something demonic. Alright. Demonic in the context of classical music usually means fast pieces which require unparalleled virtuoso skill. Ah, okay. Thanks for clarifying. For a moment I was like, what's happening? Maybe Mozart. Some people do say he was possessed by the devil when he wrote his music. Hmm. Hey, Usami. I pull out the CD and almost reflexively call Usami over. Check this out. It was one of my favorite performers' debut album. Is that her mom? A prodigal child violinist. She was about 13 at the time. Mishima Haruna. Oh. I stare at Usami. They seem similar somehow. Connect the dots, my dude. Yeah, the cover is really nice. The dress is also pretty cool.
13歳でこんな氷の上にいなくてもいいっすよね。
For real?
マジです。
Mishima. That Mishima?
はい。
This girl is the daughter of Mishima Kaoru.
ええ、私
Ah, wait, no, it's her herself. Okay. What?
いや、本当僭越です。その CD は今現在日本では売られてないはずなんですが。
Wait, seriously?
これが恐ろしいことに真実なんですよね。
No, this Mishima Haruna she's one of my favorite artists. Oh, wow, there we are.
ロリコンスね、アザイさん。
What the hell is Haruna? A stage name?
ですね。母が本名はやめておけと。
Okay, that's why I got confused. Why?
ですから言いにくいんですが、私は一応殺された被害者の娘でして、この CD を
Yeah, that's her, that's her.
まだ幼女だったわけですし。
Well, I wouldn't say child.
いえ、レコーディングの時は12だったんです。まだまだストライクゾーンです。
Well, whatever. I was just wondering because it's kind of weird to use a stage name in classical music. I can't believe I never realized Usami Haru was Mishima Haruna.
Hi.
Well, when may we expect your next album to hit the shelves?
気持ち悪いっすね、なんか。
It really hurts to be called gross by Usami.
もう出ませんよ。レコード会社との契約もとっくに切れてますし。
I see. So when you said you'd be taking a break, you were really retiring.
ほんとガキがなめんなって感じですよね。親の七光で半ば強引に CD デビューしたようなもんなんです。
Well, your mother was amazing. She took first place in a Tchaikovsky competition and played with orchestras in Berlin, Birmingham, Philadelphia, and everywhere in between.
ええ。ですから母がすごいんですよ。
It's not surprising they wanted you to record an album. And well, to be frank, they said you were good looking too.
今のところもう一度。
huh?
まあ、ぶっちゃけ、なんです？
To be frank, I didn't think you'd turn out to be such a disgusting girl. There he is. There he goes again with the disgusting. Can you just cut it out? Like, it's so weird. Her head drooped. But Mishima Haruna-san, I meant you. You won that school competition in Germany, right?
よくご存知ですね。これだから浅井さんは恐ろしい。
She sighs heavily. So you must have been pretty good, right? You even have a hardcore fan right before your eyes.
正直あなたすごいマニアですよ。今自分なんて誰も知らないですから。
Anyway, forget lunch for now. Play the violin for me.
嫌ですよ。
Hey, I'm begging for it. Here.
勘弁してもらえませんかね。
Do you know how rarely I get to hear live performances?
ミズハとデートで行ってたじゃないですか。
I was about to say, didn't you just go to one? Japanese is really weird with that. Like, I still can't get used to how freely they use the word bitch in anime and stuff. Yeah, I guess it's also like, maybe it's not a one-to-one translation thing. Like, it sounds much harsher in English. In a way, I don't know. I want to hear a solo.
いや、本当にすいませんけど。
She seems really against it. Is it out of pride and she fears she'll disappoint me? Is that why you came to our school?
ああ、はい。一応編入の時に芸能活動歴ありみたいな話は通してました。
Which slackened the attendance requirement?
ですね。奨学金借りてますけど。
Alright.
なんすか？
Nothing. I was just thinking I finally begun to understand you. She's begun to seem more human than before. I mean, I think she's been human this whole time. It was about you wanting to see her as human. So, yeah. Yeah, I'm not knowledgeable enough to answer those those questions. I wish I could know as well. There's probably also like a degree of like the translation choices influencing the way it lands with me. But this word disgusting has been used quite a lot throughout the novel. I really don't like it when he talks about girls like that. Anyway, I'm going to hit the shower.
ああ、そうっすか。自分の制服は？
Crap, I forgot about them. They're still at the cleaners.
じゃあ取りに行ってきます。少し街の様子も探ってみたいですし。
Sometimes I recognize a Japanese word while playing otome or watching anime and see the English translation is different. Yeah, I have that too. Happens sometimes. Like the translation choice they make, I'm like, maybe that wasn't the best there. Like it kind of like gives the whole phrase a different meaning. Yeah. Look around?
ええ。魔王の動きが気になりまして。
One time when a character clearly just said goodbye, they translated it as thank you, for example. Yeah, they take a little bit of liberties with how Japanese people greet each other because it's such a specific thing that doesn't have like a one-to-one translation in English. And like, for example, I've seen so many variations of how to translate yoroshiku onegaishimasu because it just, depending on the context, you know, you can take it as different things. And yeah, there's never like one set phrase that this like matches one-to-one when you translate it to English. Yeah, but like, how does that sound? Please take good care of me. How does it sound to a Western English-speaking public to have someone come to them and say, "Hey, I'm so and so. Please take good care of me." Like, what the heck? You know? Yeah. So then translators take some liberties there and like come up with other things. And yeah, I notice that all the time. So am I. I'm plenty aware that this is merely the eye of the storm. So many things have happened in one short week. My mother's death, Gonzo's death, my brother's revelation. My reunion with a young hero named Osami Haru. All I want is a little time. Just a little to adjust my feelings. Okay, I do agree with that. That is understandable. A lot has happened. I think even baka is much softer word than English idiot. Yeah, absolutely. I think it is. Yeah. Sorry, but can dinner wait until I get back? Being surrounded by that villainous bunch always makes me lose my appetite.
Hmm?
You want to go first? What are you all antsy about? I don't. I'm blanking out. I don't know what this means. I have no idea what you're talking about. Do you want to wash my back or something?
Bingo.
Ah. She snapped her fingers. Maybe you ought to leave the compliments to other people, The bathroom. Fix your hair already. It's an eyesore when it's all wet. Oh god, why do we need to see this? I really didn't need this. She scrubs me with the sponge. Oh, right there. Right there. Oh yeah, it's much better having someone else wash your back. Asami was acting flustered behind me. I'd occasionally feel an excessively heated breath on my shoulder. Should I wash you too? I know, your ladies have been pressing against my back the whole time. Oh, this is fantastic. I guess you you managed to dodge the bullet at the beginning of the stream, but now you have to push through this with all of us here. Okay. Okay, they skipped over it. We're fine. It's okay. Thank you, Steam. Oh, I gotta hide myself for a bit. There we go. Whew. Yes. Samiharu wandered alone through the bright city lights. It was quite chilly tonight. As she walked around aimlessly, she reprimanded herself for forgetting to borrow a coat from Kyosuke. Something was amiss. There were a scarce few young people hanging around the shopping district. No young men loitered outside the convenience stores, no girls gathered to chat near the clubs. The street corners typically used as meeting spots were completely stripped of waiting youths. The only people wandering the streets were middle-aged con artists. They looked bored without any prey to ensnare. Haru decided to inquire about the strange state of things. I mean, is it really a good choice, though, for her to be wandering out at night alone, given that just, like, less than 24 hours before, Kyohei almost strangled her, and he's, like, out somewhere? I don't know. Anyway, Haru decided to inquire about the strange state of things. She came upon a man leaning against a telephone pole, pressing buttons on his cell phone. He looked Haru up and down for a moment before losing interest and shaking his head. Did he not like her jogging suit? Whatever it is, it must be big, he said. Maybe he skipped town and gave up? I would doubt that. In the end, the man she approached didn't seem to know any more than she did. He confirmed Haru's feelings, though. There was something eerie, downright creepy about the whole situation. Central Boulevard hasn't been very peaceful over the past few months thanks to the Yakuza power struggle. The police box in the center of the city testified to the amount of juvenile crimes the city suffered. As Haru crossed the main street, a familiar face popped out of a back alley. Lupin, I mean Hashimoto-san. Hashimoto was wearing a hoodie and jeans and was accompanied by two boys in similar garb. The hostage case still hadn't been made public, even so Hashimoto purportedly hadn't attended school since that night. What was he doing out at this time? Haru followed after him. 20 or 30 minutes passed as she followed him. At some point, the poison oozing from the bountiful neon lights had drained away. The poison oozing from the bountiful neon lights had drained away. Wow, an interesting way of describing light? Is that what that means? Anyway. They were nearing the business district and would run into it shortly if they continued on course. All that awaited them there was a span of offices. There was nothing of interest in this area for young men. There was no sign that they realized they were being followed. Hashimoto was talking to the other two without a care in the world. They eventually arrived at the rather grandiose Sano Corporation building. Oh, that's an interesting one. Wait, like this, yeah. Okay. There were several luxury sedans parked in front of the entrance. Two men came out of the back seat of one such car. One seemed like an aging gentleman, and the other a pale foreigner. The latter's well-built muscles barely stuffed into his into his dark grey suit. There was a slight bulge under his jacket, likely a handgun. The shocking point, though, was that the seemingly unrelated Hashimoto began to speak with them respectfully. Haru couldn't see their faces, and their voices were only faint. However, she could tell they had met before. The aging man waved at Hashimoto as if he knew him well. Haru noted that he was missing a finger. Oh, the missing finger dude, okay. Hashimoto crawled into the parked car. The aging man and the pale foreigner stepped in behind him. The last man in, the foreigner, ducked into the back seat, only after eyeing the surrounding area suspiciously. A vague uneasiness coursed through Haru. What was going on there? Unable to chase after an automobile, she turned back the way she came. Before returning to Kyosuke's apartment, she stopped by her room. Haru frantically grabbed her violin case, then dashed back into the night. Ooh. So I guess we're getting an impromptu private concert. In the end, are we getting it? That might have been Naito, the head of the Shine group. When she gets back, I ask Usami about the situation outside.
マジっすか? こんな顔だったんですが。
She grabs the notepad I keep on my telephone stand and sketches a quick portrait. Oh, that amazing skills. To sketch a portrait of someone just saw at night. Okay. Yeah, probably him. Naito was likely quite pleased to hear that Gonzo had died. He didn't appear at the Soa meetings today or yesterday. Supposedly he's been ill.
もう一人の外人さんはこんな感じでした。
She drew up another picture with amazing speed. I've got nothing on that one.
何か容器を感じませんか?
Well, it is fishy. We can check it out together tomorrow. We'll take my car. That way, on the off chance something similar happens, we'll be able to follow them. Usami nodded and turned on the television.
ゴンゾーさんが亡くなられた件について、警察はどう動いているんですかね?
The news reported it as your everyday Yakuza warfare. Behind the scenes, the police have been investigating a criminal known as Maou for a while now. That's what Gonzo said anyway.
私たちも警察に知っていることを話した方が良さそうですね。
Nah, news has already spread that Mao is my brother, Samejima Kyohei. I'm sure the police have found that out by now. Detectives will probably come looking for me soon to ask some questions.
魔王はこれまで異常なまでに警察の介入を恐れていましたね。
Yeah, funny how things change. I heave a sigh and stare at Sami. There's something I still wanted to ask you.
私がなぜ魔王を追っているかですね。
Yeah, I figure I have a right to know now. I had an idea though.
浅井さんほどのマニアであれば、私の母がどうして亡くなったかはご存知ですね。
Yeah, it was at a theater in Moscow, wasn't it? Terrorists bombed the place during a performance. Oh god.
テロの目的はコンサートに招かれていた中東の国の大使だったそうですが、母も巻き添えになりました。
Was that your first encounter with Mao?
ええ。お前は宇佐美の娘かと聞かれました。まあ、話すと長くなりますんで。
She's talented in music and in drawing? Yeah, I guess so. If she's able to draw portraits like that. I'll ask some other time. By the way, what's that? I pointed to a violin case laying against the back of the sofa.
なんすかね?
Did you change your mind about playing for me?
どうすかね?
What do you mean, maybe? She reminded me of the old Usami a bit. I lay down on the sofa and jerked my chin at her. I'd like to interview you, Mishima-san.
何ニタニタしてんすか?
I hear you were born in Germany, is that right?
まあ。
Yeah, so when someone says Germany, the first thing that comes to mind is automobiles, am I right?
浅井さんのドイツはそんなですか?
I guess we know the first thing that comes to your mind. Yeah, I mean, I guess there's multiple things that are associated with Germany. I don't know if the first thing that would come to my mind would be automobiles, but okay.
なんで自分がツッコミに回らなくてはならないんですか?
Feels weird, right? It's usually the other way around. If you don't like it, you could always just give me a straight answer.
わかりましたよ。
Did you like chocolate as a kid?
え?
I mean, Japan has a good variety of chocolate, but Europe is its very birthplace.
まあ、店の前でジタバタしてた記憶はありますね。買ってくれないと動かないみたいな。
Sounds like a normal little girl. Did you watch flamenco performances often? I don't associate Germany with cars at all. Yeah, I don't know if that's what I would think. And to be honest, now that I am thinking about it, I don't know what's the first thing that comes to mind when I think of Germany. Or probably I am biased and I think of stuff from work because I worked with Germans all the time. So maybe, but that's a weird association. It's not like a generic thing about the country itself. First of all, I think about the beautiful language and then food. Alright, that's cool. I speak no German, so the language is not necessarily a thing for me.
それスペインっすけどね。まあ、旅行で一度見に行きましたね。舞台上で女の人が真っ赤なドレス着て踊ってるんですよ。自分2歳くらいだったと思うんですが、今でもなんとなく覚えてます。
Did you like to go out and dance as a child?
いえ、全然。自分は子供の頃から凄まじいインドアっぷりでしたから。
So, did you play house then?
やってましたね。人形とか買ってもらってました。向こうの人形はやたらリアルでしてね。顔立ちとかちょっと怖いんすよ。
What is this line of inquiry? I don't understand where we're going with it. Did your dad ever send you a doll from Japan? Like that one doll, you know, the one that was all the rage. Kari-chan or something? I don't really speak it, but learned a bit and listened to music in German. It's one of the most beautiful sounding. Alright, pretty cool, awesome. My skills as an interviewer are somewhat lacking.
ありましたね。でも、あれはドイツの友達に貸したっきりですね。
Translation acquired. Beautiful in Kaniti's language means scary in Zeku speech. God, sick. Pat. They never gave it back.
いや、なんて言うんですかね。そういう感じなんですよ、向こうは。貸してあげるって言っても、一度持ったら自分のものみたいなところがあって。
Wait, what? I lent it to a friend in Germany and never got it back. That's how it goes over there? If you say you lend someone something, they'll consider it theirs? I have high doubts about this. What? I wish sure that person was just like not like, you know, a little greedy child. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I've heard that. Foreigners just take pens or paper without any bad intentions. Excuse me?
ちなみに、自分がちょっとずうずうしいのもそこから来ています。
Bull.
でもまあ、日本に戻ってきた時は正直きつかったですね。
The difference in customs did, you mean?
まず給食っすかね。なんでみんなと同じもん食うんだよとか思ってましたね。
Oh, and that wasn't because you weren't used to Japanese food?
いや、ドイツでも和食だったんすけどね。なんでしょう。こっちって余ったもの分け合ったりするじゃないですか。気使うじゃないですか、なんか。
Isn't that a good thing?
そうなんでしょうけど、余ったプリンとか自分が全部いただいたことがあるんですよ。そしたらなんか、みんなの視線が冷たくなって。
Okay. I mean, I guess you should have asked first. Yeah, I can picture that.
向こうは自分は自分みたいな感じでしてね。すごいのになると昼食にキャベツとか持ってくることがいまして。でも全然浮いてないです。キャベツで OK なんです。
That sounds like BS, but we can roll with it. What kind of place did you live in?
ケルンにいた時は大自然に囲まれてましたね。近くに牧場がありました。と言っても田舎という感じでもなく、とにかく広かったです。
I also hear you lived in Tomanbetsu City once. Is that correct?
そうですけど、今と昔じゃ大違いですよ。10年前はセントラル街なんてなかったじゃないですか。
Is this roasting of cabbage or something? I have no idea. I don't know how German people feel about cabbage. I don't know. I know we Romanians love it. We use it in a lot of dishes. But cabbage wouldn't be something that we would pack for lunch, though. Unless it's like cabbage salad, which is amazing. I love it. It as a side to something else, you know. That might work. Oh, so that's why you were a little lost when you first arrived last year. Central Boulevard practically popped up overnight to us residents too. It went up quite quickly. Is it true that city development is something the Europeans tend to take slowly?
人も時間ものんびりです。日本みたいに小さな個人商店が大きなスーパーに変わってるようなこともないです。
Really? They have higher ceilings over there too. Your violin must have echoed quite a bit.
ですね。日本で暮らしてた時はとにかく音がブワーッとこもる感じで慣れるまで時間がかかりましたね。
Interesting. We finally go to talking about the violin. Did you start playing the violin because of your mother's influence?
でしょうかね。母のコンサートとか見て綺麗だなって思ってました。
But of all things, the violin.
ええ。楽器は高価だし、目指す人も多いし。私がやってみるって言った時、母も複雑な顔してましたね。
Kids don't usually think about consequences down the line.
最初は弾けたら楽しいっていうだけでやってましたよ。音楽教室に通ってたんですが、先生の前で弾くといつも手を叩いて喜んでくれるんです。
Usami looked happy as she reminisced on days gone by.
母も仕事が忙しく、よく家を空けていたんですがね。帰ってくるたびに褒めてくれました。またちょっと上手くなったねって。自分はそれが嬉しくて、今度はもっと褒めてもらおうとか、ワクワクしながら練習してました。
I see.
だもんで、学校が終わったら夜中までこもって弾いてましたね。寝るか食うかバイオリンか。そんな毎日が半年くらい続きました。
Oh, how were the recitals?
グループで同じ曲を弾くんすけどね。自分だけなぜかちょっと目立ってたらしいですね。終わった後、あなたはバイオリンが大好きでしょうとか言われました。
It sure sounds like she does, at least.
それからはもっといろんな人の前で弾いてみたいとか思うようになりまして。
Her smile was no less than wait. This is angelic, right? Like cherubic? Cherubic? Or cherubic? I'm not sure how to pronounce that, sorry. I know what it means. I don't think I've ever said it out loud.
それで母も本格的に自分に教えてくれるようになりましてね。
Yes, I know it means angelic. I never knew this Usami, this innocent girl who spoke with a sparkle in her eyes.
本気を出した母は厳しかったですよ。何をやっても無駄でした。何自分が感覚だけでやってたか分かったのは、日本であるコンクールに出た時なんです。
I had never been more humbled by English than when I started reading novels out loud and realized just how many words I had picked up from like a written context when I guess my mind just made some assumptions of what they might sound like, but I never actually heard them. And I kind of like inferred their meaning from the context of the book or occasionally looked them up. So I knew what they were, but I had never said them out loud. Yeah, it's a thing. Yes, I appreciate I appreciate it, Banjo. Oh?
とにかくやたら怖いんです。静かですし、真っ暗ですし、審査員の方はクールですし。
Are contests in the West more friendly?
発表会に近い温かさがありましたね。だもんで、結果はひどかったですよ。
Yeah, well, contests in Japan are probably concerned with intonation, rhythmic accuracy, and other such technicalities more than overall interpretation.
一応、海外なら評価されるでしょうという一言をいただきましたが、とにかく思い知らされました。だから、バイオリンの持ち方、構え方から見直して、猛練習したんです。
Oh, interesting. Oh, she's so, like, dedicated to it. That's very cool. Did you ever go off to a music camp?
行きました。今海外で活躍しているようなことも一緒になりましたね。こんなすごいこと一緒になっていいのかなとか、ビクビクしてました。
Imposter syndrome, I feel you. High five! Let's all join the imposter syndrome club. I can't even imagine Usami being nervous. Did you get stiff shoulders?
いえ、むしろ痛いのは背中ですね。あとは写真とか撮るといつも左肩が上がってるとか言われましたね。筋肉が変についちゃって。
Because that's where you hold the violin, yeah. She shut her mouth as if remembering her normal personality.
まあ、今はそんな悩みもありませんが。
She forced a self-deprecating smile, but it couldn't hide her sadness. It wasn't fun to look at. You wanted to be a soloist, right?
ええ、オーケストラは気遣いますね。自分のせいでアンサンブルを乱したらとか思うと。
She must have been pretty timid as a kid. But you don't have to worry about that in front of me. I speak to her gently and Sami's face returns to that of the young girl again. You want to play in front of a lot of people, right? Then let me hear you. This place is soundproofed very well, and it had better be for how expensive it is. Even if you screw up, only I can hear it. Sami's shoulders shook a little. She took a deep breath, then stared at her violin case. Haru. Ooh. When I call her, she looks up at me.
わかりました。京介くんになら。
She scurries to grab the case as she blushes. She opens the case gently, as one would open a jewelry box. Inside the solid case was a cloth sack. I could tell just from that how much care she put into her instrument. Then from out the sack she pulled a beautiful aging glossy violin. Damn, that looks pretty expensive.
実に浅井さんらしい意見ですが、お金には変えられません。
Aww, priceless. It must be the violin her mother used.
ちょっとお待ちを。
She rummaged through a bag she had brought along with the case.
チューナーとか持ってないですよね。
Nah, I'm just a fan after all. I don't play.
参りました。忘れてきたようです。
Hey now, you're not going to leave me blue-balled, are you? We could have said that in a different way, couldn't we? Though since violins are made of wood, the change in temperature or humidity between her place and mine might have thrown the strings out of tune.
いいんですか?
Yeah, go for it. If it were the rainy season, though, I might be singing a different tune. When the air is exceptionally humid, the strings stretch easily, sending the pitch and timbre straight to hell. I'm getting Kotomi back. Sorry, flashbacks. Kotomi flashbacks. I'm sure it's not gonna be like that, but yeah. Not gonna leave me blueberry though. Ah.
一応毎日チューニングはしてるんですが。
Oh, so you still practice daily?
いえいえ、手入れをしているだけで演奏はしていません。
Okay. So she's just attached to it. But can you tune it without playing it a little bit? I don't know how that works. Like, how do you know it's tuned properly if you don't try it out a bit?
不本意ですが、わかりました。
She takes a black bar of what looks like soap into her hand. Is that pine resin?
よくご存知で。
It's commonly called a rosin, and she's going to apply it to the horsehair bow. She lightly presses her bow to the bar and glides along it, top to bottom.
意外と覚えているもんですね。
Remember what?
いえ、つけすぎるのも良くないし、かといって足りないと音が弱くなってしまうんです。
So her body still remembers how much to apply.
浅井さん、食器洗い用のスポンジか何かもらえませんか？長らく引いてないもので片当てがなくて。使わない方も多いですが、自分は服の下に入れると結構安定するんで。
But will a dish sponge really do?
自分はよくそれで練習してましたから。
Alright, do you have a chin rest?
ついてます。と言っても、化粧をしているわけではないので、そこまで気にしなくても。
What the heck? What if you sweat on the violin?
そんな激しい曲を弾かせるつもりですか？
Well, start off with some Bach, I guess.
やはりですか。まあ、バッハは私も好きです。
Hey now, who do you think you're talking to saying you like Bach? What do you know about Bach? What are these questions?
バッハの数学的な才能に惹かれました。
Aha, so you do know your stuff. He wrote a song that's the same whether you play it forwards or backwards.
ええ、まるで怪文みたいに。本当に神秘的な人です。
Alright then, I've got it. Play Jesu Joy of Man's Desiring.
いけって楽譜もないのに。
You can't just play it from memory? Was the rumor about Mishima Haruna being able to play any song after hearing it once just a rumor after all? Oh my
どこ
gosh.
からそんなデマが。まあ、なんとなくでよければ弾いてみせましょう。
I'll let you play as half-assed as you want today.
今日のところはって今後もあるんですか？
Of course. You're my woman, aren't you? Embarrassed, Sami starts preparing to play. Oh man, I'm turning off the lights.
またそうやってハードルを上げる。
Yeah, no pressure. Darkness permeated my room. Ah, wait, I changed my mind. Play Air on the G string.
浅井さんが一番好きな曲ですか。わがままさんですね。
I feel like maybe there's also some translation thing going on there because I want to believe that he doesn't really mean it that possessively, you know? I would hope. I would hope. It does just hit weird when I read it out loud though. Yeah, anyway. Grumbling, Usami takes up the bow and puts the violin to her left shoulder. Oh, that's so pretty. Pretty. Look at that. With the stars shining in the sky in the background. Okay. Usami's slender body stands in the moonlight. With hair down to her legs, she shuts her eyes as if going to sleep. She was different from the usual Usami. There was something mysterious about her. Now her hair looks blue. It's an effect of the music. I guess things are tinted blue to suggest it's, you know, at night. Something like that. As on her city, it was completely blue. Yeah, that's true. Do you need to warm up?
結構です。
She answered bluntly. She lightly grips the bow with her right hand and brings her left hand to the violin's neck. I noticed the calluses on Usami's fingertips when we made love. Her touch was rough and gritty. She must have practiced intensely all her life. Those same fingertips now slowly descend to the fingerboard and lightly press the strings. I take a deep breath in anticipation and await her first note with sweaty palms. I'm confident, no, sure that the melody she plays will be stunningly beautiful. At this very moonlit moment, I am completely enchanted by the girl known as Usami Haru. Her bow reaches for the G string, the string that plays the lowest sound.
すみません。
At first it was nothing but a
すみ
whisper.
ませんか。
Eh? Then her well-formed eyebrow twitched.
ほら、F ホールを這い上がって G 線の上に。
What is happening? What? Then a sound like fingernails on a black board resounded through the room. What's happening? I was joking with the Kotomi flashbacks, okay?
悪魔がいませんか。
I couldn't believe my ears.
すみません。浅井さん、
She starts shaking.
私には無理です。
What? What did Usami just say? The devil?
ええ、邪魔をするんです。いつも。すみません。おかしなこと言って。
I heard of performers with prodigal talent who put themselves in a trance-like state as they play. Sometimes it allows them to suppress physical and emotional pain during a performance. Hey there, do you also plan to play the new psychological horror game Tsunagari Chess School? I have not heard of that, and I do not have that plan. Sorry about that. It is traumatic for her somehow? Maybe. That's the one thought I'm having, that it maybe takes her back to some moment that like wasn't very good. But I'm not sure. And sometimes when they've achieved a state of complete ecstasy, they begin to see fairies. Or hear the devil's whispers. It sounded like a joke coming from her, but Sami's body was shaking abnormally. She took a few shallow breaths. Yeah, okay, that's what I was guessing. That it was probably something that was taking her back to the bombing, or yeah. Sami. Oh, yeah. That rumbling drowned out her mother's beautiful melody. The earth shook and Haru's body was tossed into the air. Oh, so she was present there as well? Oh gosh. The sound burst her sensitive eardrums as destruction rained down, raging across the theater. I mean, of course, now she's having PTSD about it, if she was actually there. It was the blast of a bomb. Oh. The stage, the seating area, the balcony, the boxes, everything vomited smoke into the air. Yeah, okay, this is painful to see. Holy heck. Screams littered the atmosphere. Unintelligible screams of pain and terror. Haru saw someone lying on the ground on the other side of the theater. She saw other things which had lost all semblance of humanity. She saw fragments, pieces of human beings. Chunks of flesh decorated puddles of blood right before her very eyes. Something that looked like a tree branch had landed near the ruins of a crumbled marble pillar. It was an arm ripped out of its socket. A man sat on the ground near Haru, clinging to one of the chairs. He was holding his stomach as if in desperate prayer. Something soft of a dull color splashed out onto the ground. It was his intestines. Okay. There was blood everywhere. Everything was burnt and blackened. All that remained were the dead and dying. The smoke had frozen the girl so tightly that she wasn't even able to close her eyes. The world around her had completely changed. Her mother's skillful performance had at some point become an ensemble of low-pitched groaning. There were screams, and at the same time a barrage of automatic weapons fire. The shots fired mercilessly in front of her. A few streams of blood surged out like snakes. Only after seeing that was she finally able to clench her teeth in fear. Death was near. Sometime after she had finally accepted her inevitable death, a voice called out to her. Called out for her. Haru, Haru, it said, seeking the girl. She tried to squeeze out a reply, but couldn't. Her mother had been an expert at manipulating sound at will, yet the only response Haru was able to offer her, a response that would turn out to be her final words to her mother, was a raspy wheezing that hardly qualified as speech. Oof. A new voice called her, this time a calm one from above her. He was dressed head to toe in black. The balaclava he wore covered his face, but his eyes laughed boldly at her. The man's figure, distorted from the hot air, seemed akin to one of the devil... one of the devils straight out of hell. Okay, if the targets were like someone else and her mother was just a collateral victim, why is he like specifically targeting her? Okay. What answer the girl gave the devil, she does not remember. Or she must have given him a name. The devil returned a scornful smile. Some Middle Eastern language was being shouted about. The devil replied in the same tongue. The blood at his feet splashed.
Maou.
Okay. After that, something inside the girl broke. Like a violin missing a string, her heart stopped functioning normally. In exchange, she gained hatred. She gained hatred at the cost of her ability to play the violin. I see. I mean, you could have said that. You could have led with that and then not put yourself through the struggle. Oof. Usami's breathing was becoming rough and her face was getting so pale that I was able to notice it from the moonlight alone. I know, now calm down. Why is Usami, a passingly normal young woman, chasing the dangerous terrorist Maou? I finally understood the reason behind that reckless act. She was merely wandering around grief-stricken, searching for salvation. I see. You did well to tell me. It's alright. Don't worry about it. It was my fault. I reach out to hold Usami. Don't worry about it. I'll do something about it. Her tone suddenly lost all emotion. Yeah, I'll catch Maou. That's a bold declaration. That seemed the only way to save Usami. Her eyes went wide. Despite all the experiences we shared, we were still different people. I didn't understand a single ounce of Usami's despair. Ooh. Okay. That night, I learned of the demon in Usami Haru's heart. The chains which we inherited from our parents have become our very own karma, binding us into an eternal winter. You'll be able to play again someday. No, I'll make her able to play. I'll do it with my own hands, not through unheard prayers to a useless god as I used to. As one single human, as one single man, I'll protect Haru. Okay, this... We really did not need this. It was perfect so far. He had sat down, he had asked her initially seemingly weird questions, but eventually it led into a full-blown conversation about what her life has been, what her interests are, what her experiences were in different countries and stuff. That was very good. Yeah. And then the declaration of like, I will take care of this thing that hurts you and I will protect you. Very cool, very cool. And then this. Okay, thank you for ruining it all. At least, I don't know, at least you could have like put it in a nicer way, like use a metaphor or like, you know, say something like, you know, refer to the spiritual connection of the experience, not just the fact that, oh, we had sex many times that night. Yeah. Great. Fantastic. Awesome. I mean, I get it though. I do get it if I mean, the fact that you missed at the beginning of the stream the first time. So they were already intimate. They already had previous intimacy experiences, right? But I do understand that in a vulnerable moment like that, you can crave a certain kind of connection. And so this experience could be that, and like you feel loved and protected and stuff. So I get it. It's just the choice of words that irks me, because it could have been said so much more nicely. But anyway, let's move on. Oh yeah, no, I'm not gonna read this. I'm not. Goodbye. Okay. Yeah, like we could focus on the good part of it, but no. Aimed at capturing the other's soul. That part it's fine. That the night wore on, and as exhaustion took us, we fell asleep in each other's arms. I am not reading those things, Bancho. I am so sorry. I did not sign up for that. I I reserved the right to choose to not read certain things out loud. We don't read it, it does not exist. Equals profit. Yeah. Oh jeez. Yeah, see, like, I don't know. Maybe it's just me, okay? It's my personal taste. I'm like too, I don't know, vanilla for this. But it could have been described so much more nicely. It could have been like a really nice thing, right? But no, the choice was made to be animalistic, violent, and all that jazz. Okay, well, as long as it works for the two of them. Let's move on. The day has come to execute my final plan. I can't help but look back at the 10 years I've spent in preparation for this. Inspired by my father's Samijima Toshikatsu, an employee of a trading company, I aspired to study overseas. 10 years ago, I was just a kid. Isn't the name misspelled? Was it Samijima? Or am I misremembering? That's what threw me off. Anyway. I had no money or power to speak of. I attended the Imperial College of London, hoping to gain the qualifications necessary to work at my father's company. My younger brother Kyosuke was still young and unreliable. When I returned to Japan, every now and then he'd make me play video games with him. His amiable personality and overall sociability was just like father. Her life didn't change for the better yet, as that is her boyfriend. Let's just say that I do believe that he has turned around and that his intentions towards her are positive. He cares in some capacity about her and he does want to protect her. But those are not the things that I personally would want from my boyfriend. Like, I couldn't be with a person like that. But hey, if it works for her and she's happy, then who am I to say anything, you know? I remember him following me around, taking pictures of me as I helped mother with errands or chores. Thanks to father working himself to the brink, our family was never poor. Regardless, I refused any money they tried to give me to help pay for various expenses as I studied in Britain. I knew that mother, with her weak disposition, could have fallen ill at any moment. I also knew that father wanted to bring another life into the family. However, I didn't need the money. Thus, some friends and I decided to found a small import-export business in London to help pay the bills. Okay, where is this going? Calling it an import-export business makes it sound impressive. But it was just peddling cheap junk. We sold t-shirts, pencils, Buddhist statues, and other such Japanese rubbish to shops in London. Japanese saran wrap and toiletries sold well for some reason, and there were a significant amount of orders for underwear emblazoned with kanji logos. Okay. I guess some people are interested in that. Father would often package such novelties and send them to Britain for us. "You'll be a great trader someday," he told me. He always supported me from the bottom of his heart. I met Alan one day as I walked into a pub trying to hawk an air freshener that promised extra effectiveness against the smell of alcohol. He looked to be in his mid-40s. He wore a houndstooth checked flat cap, a cheap faux fur windbreaker, and worn old slacks. Sipping a Guinness and lighting his pipe occasionally, he looked like your everyday working-class Brit. "Alright, mate," he hollered as he waved me over with a smile. He bought something from me right off the bat. He said he loved Japan and would be a good customer. As we talked more, we started calling each other by our first names, and by the time he offered me a drink of sake, he already knew my background, specialties, and interests. Being raised in a peaceful country like Japan, I was hopelessly vulnerable. A young Japanese man was like clay in the hands of a veteran recruiter like Alan. By the time he first said the word mercenary, I was drunk. I'm a mercenary. My drunk self was more curious than cautious about that unfamiliar word. Supporting the business of war at its core was the lowest level of these so-called merchants of death, mercenary recruiters. Any system with the possibility of cooperation will eventually spawn a profit-based equivalent. And with the monstrous amount of money involved in war, there will always be monsters out there looking for a cut. And in any case, Alan himself was not working for some Arab big shot or some capitalist corporate giant, but a monster that happened to deal in smaller figures. He had the proper qualifications and was a formal member of a recruitment agency. However, mercenary recruiters are not permitted to act out in the open. That law exists for diplomatic reasons as conformity to international law, and the connections to underground organizations cement it as an important rule to follow. Alan's talk captured the attention of his green listener. He tried to sweet-talk me into joining up as we drank Kurosawa and Yamato Damashi, and like a missionary for an evil cult, he waited patiently until his prey was no longer able to think. Still, I never said yes. As if to say he already knew that, he laughed and replied, "But murder can sometimes save things, and justice can't." I found that difficult to understand. It does stir a man's sense of adventure, but there's no reason to become something as mysterious as a mercenary. Warfare may be an unfortunate constant in this world of ours, but it had nothing to do with me. "If you ever find yourself in need of power, call me anytime," Alan told me. After that day, a long time passed. My little sister was born and died. My father's silhouette, broken-hearted before little Kiyomi's portrait, is still burnt into my eyes. And soon after that, the same father was arrested under suspicion of murder. When I received the news from mother, I abandoned studying for my upcoming Arabic midterm and returned to Japan. The Manbetsu city is holding cells. I was turned away 3 times under the excuse that they were still investigating the case, but I was eventually allowed to visit father. I mean, they can turn you away? They can, like, not allow you to visit a prisoner? Okay. Father nodded from behind the acrylic plate. Above his droopy cheeks, his worn-out eyes told of his lack of sleep. Father vaguely shook his head. Not once in the letter did he whine, but he'd fainted a few times. The fainting spells were bouts of heart disease. He'd suffered from it the night he cried in front of Kiyomi's portrait as well. Father had killed Usami Yoshinori, his subordinate Kato, and 2 of Usami's other mahjong friends who were present. Is he going to be given the death penalty? There are plenty of reasons to be sympathetic toward him. Nevertheless, his crime was premeditated, and it couldn't be helped if they saw his method of killing as brutal. He was just possessed by his urge to kill at least Usami. The rest of them were just small-timers riding off of Usami's power. They could do nothing but mock father. Then again, I personally think it's those kinds of vermin who deserve to die. When I spoke with a lawyer friend of father's, he was unable to confidently determine whether or not father had a chance at life. The decision wouldn't be made for 3 or 4 years after all. I was incredibly worried. What truly disturbed me was that the world sympathized with Usami. As father's letter detailed, Usami was a fraud and a chronic gambler. None of this was reported in any newspapers or television programs. Apparently, Usami had connections to politicians. Perhaps his famous wife, Mishima Kaoru, had something to do with that. Would these things affect father's sentencing? I wondered.
安心してください。万一に備えて死刑廃止論者の団体の方々にも協力をお願いしています。
But each time I attended their meetings and study sessions, I lost more hope. What I wanted to save wasn't this country's future, but my father, a man who might be sentenced to death. Kyohei. Father gently called my name. Thanks, Kyohei. Father's tears lent a certain air of fulfillment to his eyes. I mustered my courage and replied.
お父さん、あなたは人を殺したことに後悔はなさっていないのですね。
Father bit his lip. I'm sorry. That sentence was certainly not aimed at Usami or the other 3, but at our family. I imagined the scene of the inevitable trial. The prosecution shouting things like, "The defendant shows no signs of regret." Indeed, father would never submit to Usami's memory, nor should he have to. Kyohei, can a genius like you answer a question for your old man? He looked to be begging Buddha for salvation. Am I the demon everyone says I am? Indeed, he is a demon, my reason and morality whispered coldly into my chest. Oh, sorry. He loved his family more than anything else. The smiles he brought to us were countless. I felt something burning inside me, and I cursed my ingrate reason and morality.
父さんは正しい。
He'll always be to me at least. That sentence, that determination sealed my life's fate.
お父さん、俺はイギリスに帰ります。しかし、必ず戻ってきます。何年先になるかわかりませんが、希望を捨てないでください。
There was no way I was going to sit back and suck my thumb as the judicial system pondered his fate. I returned to Tomanbetsu City, packed my bags, and said goodbye to Kyosuke and mother. They were both worried at my departure, but wallowing in our sorrows wouldn't save father. I entrusted mother to Kyosuke and returned to Britain. My only miscalculation pertained to the beast named Azai Gonzo. The Yakuza debt collectors wouldn't relent on father's debt merely because he was in jail. Mother, left behind on her own, fell into Gonzo's clutches, but I was left in the dark about this until far later. Alan greeted me with a huge grin at the aforementioned pub. I thought I'd see you again. I asked my one question, bluntly. If I follow you, will I gain enough power to free a prisoner from jail? Alan's gaze when he looked at me then changed for the very first time. I just procured mercenaries. I had no idea you wanted to be a terrorist. I didn't care what he called it. Terrorist, mercenary, soldier, I didn't care. All I wanted was to find a way to save my father. Well, work with us for now. Lots of our people declare themselves free agents after 2 or 3 years. It wasn't like I didn't have any hesitation toward going with Alan. It would mean having to go years without any contact with my mother in Japan. It was only when I got involved in the London underground bombings that my resolve strengthened. Terrorists, angered by one of Britain's national issues, blew up a subway platform with a suitcase bomb. There were around 500 casualties, and one of them was me, as I walked down the entrance's stairwell. My only injury was a bruised waist, but I was swept into the waves of panicking commuters and lost my bag, my wallet, and my passport. I jumped out of my seat as I watched the news the next day. On the list of deceased was written Samejima Kyohei. Okay, so it was a mistype earlier, okay. Samejima Kyohei, Japanese. The London police forces Half-assed investigations were so infamous that I'd even heard stories in Japan, so it wasn't all that surprising. For example, a month after I enrolled in college, a friend of mine was arrested. He was charged with sexual assault. Because he had an alibi, he was eating with me at the time, he was quickly released. Apparently the police barged in arresting him merely because his girlfriend accused him. There was also a strange case involving another university, where an assistant professor was surrounded during a lecture by police toting submachine guns. This too was because of a single testimony, this time by a Pakistani immigrant, because the professor looked similar to a terrorist. In Japan, where people are only arrested after concrete proof of a crime is discovered, these false accusations rarely happen. But in Britain, these false accusations run rampant. The media makes a big to-do about the case nearly every time, ensuring that even after the charges are dropped, the damage has already been done. I can understand that Britain had been under terrorist threat for a long time, but it's gotten to the point where it's unsafe to walk around at night. People have been shot in the streets without any attempt at an arrest. Thus, I wouldn't be surprised if the man in immigration control assigned to the case was simply too busy shooting heroin to make a call confirming my death. When I was about to tell the embassy that I had merely dropped my passport, Alan stopped me. If you stay dead, it will shave 5 years off of your fulfilling your dream. Off of you fulfilling your dream. It was later, when I started working as a mercenary specializing in intelligence gathering, that I'd fully realized the advantage of playing dead. The person who wrote this game hates all European countries. I don't know. Alongside the recruiters, there were also people who sold falsified records. For example, in Britain, there were Indo-Pakistani immigrants who were subcontracted by certain big shots in the mafia. They have a lot of big connections around the world, so as long as your request isn't too unreasonable, they'll help you cover up your past. They sold passports, driver's licenses, and ID cards from various public organizations that allowed access to bank accounts, credit cards, or traveler's checks. You could buy pretty much anything you needed, as long as you had the money for it, of course. But regardless of how sloppy these countries' identity checks were, in the face of modernized society, having a dead person pose as a dead person will always be far more reliable and economical than having a living person do so. What does that mean? What does that mean? Oh god. After all, when you're officially dead, you don't have to worry about being the subject of any ongoing investigations. It also makes it impossible for someone to go get an accurate profile of you. Yeah, okay, we don't need this, it's fine. Alright. Having a dead person pose as a dead person. Is he referring to like him actually being declared dead, or I hope we're not like adding more corpses to the pile. Kyohei, you're a man of outstanding talent. Alan wasn't like the average recruiter swaggering around Tomabetsu City's Central Boulevard like they owned the place. The only people he had his eyes on were people who seemed promising, even if inexperienced. I had no intent to answer his expectations, I just signed a provisional contract to fulfill my own goal. The next day, I paid my lodging costs and headed to a rural area on the outskirts of London. At first glance, it was just a regular farm. No, it was a regular farm. There were cows, goats, and sheep, and people milking them with all the care in the world. They said the training camp was just the farmer's side job, but it was obviously being financed by some conglomerate or syndicate. In other words, he must have been a high-ranking warlord that no doubt has more than a few mercenaries under contract. Needless to say, he was quite wealthy. And a common aspect of the wealthy in any country would be their propensity for cutting costs. Our lodgings were coarse, our meals mostly scant and vegetarian in nature. I, along with the other fools that fell prey to the temptations of the devil, was assigned to a group of 5 or 6 people. We all then underwent medical and fitness evaluations. During the initial stages, there was a heavy emphasis on exposing any special skills or experience that might be of some use. More often than not, this took the form of an intense interrogation. It felt like we were a part of some twisted livestock competition. However, since these procedures were only a formality, people like fugitives, deviants, and the like were not filtered out of the selection. Britain is a country of varied races, so naturally the people gathered were also quite varied. I was forced into a sweatshop alongside an extremely pale man, and after 3 days there I caught a glimpse of a veritable giant sobbing. After having my aptitude harshly evaluated, I was called into another room. There I was beckoned over by a stern-looking Caucasian dressed in military uniform. Apparently the fact that I had told them I was a black belt in karate had caught their attention. The man was less intimidating than he looked. I had gotten into a fight on the streets of London once before, but Westerners in general have a tendency to try to subdue you with physical strength. As long as you take the proper distance and avoid their unrefined charges and kicks, one swift counter to the vitals is all it takes. But putting my skills on display like that was an act of suicide in a way, as it resulted in upping the level of training I received. Okay. Once you reach the 5th level, they send you off to the battlefield. This facility, given the nickname the Pen, is one of many scattered through Europe. It was indeed common for these war ranches to camouflage themselves as everyday crop or dairy farms, but in some countries they operated right out in the open. After the cattle parade was over, and I had signed a contract with a mercenary contractor, I was sent to a military school in Switzerland that was famous for churning out soldiers of fortune. My instructor there was a man that went by the Devil. He was a short, slender man, and he was such a gentleman that if it weren't for the military uniform, you might mistake him to be the manager of a fine tailoring business or the like. For someone who went by the Devil, he was fairly mild-mannered. He was nothing like the cruel drill sergeants you might see in a movie. I had heard he was an ex-member— oh, sorry, I scrolled too fast. I had heard that he was an ex-member of the British Special Forces. Of course, there was a sort of unwritten rule that one mustn't talk about one's past. So to this day, I don't know for sure whether that was true or just a rumor. What I do know is that the Devil certainly could display some incredibly advanced techniques. Between lights out at 9 PM and rising at 4 AM, the Devil would occasionally launch a guerrilla attack on us as we slept. The curriculum was divided into field and study. In the field segments, we covered topics such as the usage of munitions, marksmanship, the proper methods of arming and dismantling bombs, sabotage, close-quarter combat, and reconnaissance. The study segments covered subjects such as communications, navigation, survival, and the like. Due to the harsh training, there were some among us who dropped out. Some even became handicapped after an accident during training. The only reason things went smoother for me was because, besides my native Japanese, I was fluent in English, Arabic, German, French, and Spanish. You like playing around, don't you? What a child. One day, after a training session in close quarters combat, the Devil came over to offer me words in a rare, harsh tone. It's true, I did have a habit of taking my time in finishing off my opponent after getting them to the ground. I held off because I wanted to see how they would react when thrown into a predicament. You had a bit of a smile on your face, you know that? I actually had never noticed it myself, but regardless, it was a rhetorical question. Try paying a little respect to your enemy. I'm not training psychotic murderers here. The British gentry have a set of prerequisite virtues before one can call oneself a gentleman. On one hand, he was teaching us how to kill people. On the other, he was preaching morals. I was probably on edge with murderous excitement at the time. After all, I was being taught how to kill people day in and day out. During meals and breaks, everyone always looked down in silence. We didn't want to see each other's faces. If we did, we'd probably want to kill each other. Asking us to respect our enemy, as we were being eyed by gun-toting guards, was simply preposterous. I couldn't help but grab my stomach and laugh. Then how do you explain the brutal acts performed by some British soldiers in the last war in the Middle East? Hypocrites honestly believe that the good deeds of the few can really save the world over time. If you want to put up the smoke and mirrors on someone like that, just drop an analogy on a grander scale. Mention human nature, talk about the whole nation, discuss the inherent implications of society, currency, and property. Simply start a conversation with something akin to a didactic novelist's opening, and you're guaranteed a hit or two. I was fully prepared to be struck for what I said. That was the first time I had felt respect for the devil. That's exactly right, child. Where are we right now? A dump, I answered. That's right, a dump. Right now, unprecedented terrorism threatens Japan. People continue to die every second in Africa. But that has nothing to do with us, for we do not live in the world. We live in the individual. And then the lips of the devil, who had just earlier removed his gentlemanly mask, twisted into a smile befitting his name. This facility is one of the most preeminent military academies in all of Europe. Our alumni are, as a whole, either emotionally numb or have their own personal dark beliefs which they cannot or will not shoulder onto anyone else. I expect great things from you, he said, as he tapped me on the shoulder. I understood then. Let us assume that right and wrong, good and evil, are subjective concepts. Thus, without any objectivity to guide you, without any semblance of reality or fact, one can only truly be a king of evil when living in one's own personal reality until the bitter end. Only in one's own mind can one truly be the devil, the Maou. Man, this turned really philosophical. At any rate, mercenaries aren't trained to become charity workers. If a cadet fails to graduate from the academy and get on the market after 2 to 5 weeks, he won't make it in the industry. At my graduation, the devil proposed a certain code name to me. His own, the devil. In my native tongue, Maou, so creative. However, not a single mercenary or assassin in the world would use such a joke of an alias. Only when I was among companions or when an operation did not require the use of a code name did I go by the name Maou. When I did so, I thought back to my old instructor. Granted, that was only because by the time I made it to my first battle, the devil had already passed away. They say a new recruit's reaction to his first kill can vary from person to person, but I was so composed at the time that it surprised even my unit commander. I set an ambush for the enemy by taking aim from a hiding place in tall grass, just as I had practiced in training. All I did was pump lead into whatever moved. I don't see any reason to be deeply moved over something like that. Oh, dude. Oh, gosh. I could hear the murmurs of the devil inside me, breathing into Samejima Kyohei's ears. These are not remains, but a body. It's not the dead, but an object. Those whispers protected me from guilt, regret, and escapism. Escapism. There we go. After the battle, an American that had been put on point was crying and muttering to himself. I'm not a killer. I'm not a murderer. Murderers are people that go after those weaker than themselves. I can't be a murderer. Being placed at the front was a form of consideration meant to ensure he didn't fire upon an ally in derangement. When we began to relocate for our next campaign, he suddenly turned around and pointed his gun at an ally. At that exact moment, as if he was expecting it to happen, the commander shot him dead on the spot. So he didn't on purpose to get out of it. Oh god. Okay. I too had my gun at the ready. He lacks something emotionally. I mean, that or I mean, it can be a mixture of that plus the trauma of what his family went through. The lesson I learned that day: making excuses for your actions will only get you killed. I roamed the battlefields as a mercenary for about 2 years. My jobs lasted anywhere from 2 weeks to 5 months. I worked as a guard for a diamond mine, participated in the annihilation of a group of fascist guerrillas, and even participated in the front lines of a feint operation as a member of the army for a country that did not have its own special forces. I could have sworn I was a goner on that particular job. I got separated from my guide in the middle of the jungle, but I was fortunate enough to stumble upon and secure a safe water source and make it out alive. 2 years later, I reunited with Ellen. Oof, that was long. I really need to make a quick run to the bathroom, so yeah, I thought maybe we could get past this whole chapter, but it seems to keep going, so I'll just pause it right here, just a couple minutes. I'll be right back. Alrighty, here we are. Looks like I was right about you. You did well to make it this far. The relationship between the mercenary and his contractor was like the relationship between a prostitute and the Yakuza drug dealer she buys from. In other words, you're trapped in a hell where no matter how much you work, you'll never make a profit. In fact, some of my fellow comrades had been sent to military school by their contractors, even after their contracts had expired, in order to provide them with further training. The amount of money you could get as a novice mercenary was no better than the salary you would earn working in a convenience store in Japan. But even so, it was enough money to allow people who came from warring third world countries to feed their family for years. It's not like you got into this business for the money, is it, Kyohei? That goes without saying. Money was necessary, of course. But in order to put my plan for revenge into action, I would first need some connections. That's right. Revenge. Ending dozens of human lives, for no reason in particular, had changed my way of thinking. So my dad had killed Usami and 3 other people. What of it? They were all vermin. They weren't local militia fighting for freedom. They weren't child soldiers from the Middle East who had been taught nothing but how to kill from the very moment they were born. In fact, in my eyes, they were rare examples of people who were killed for a reason. Even if you were to kill a civilian, you would not be court-martialed as long as your side won. You mean as a soldier? Yeah, I guess so. And as I saw more and more of these travesties, I came to find the fact that my father was going to trial at all to be absurd. Ooh. As a child, I had talked about wanting to save my father. Now I found myself driven by the impulse to destroy everything that Japan stood for. You're a free agent now, Kyohei. I hope you don't mind me trying to recruit you again. But as a full-blown merc this time. I told him that I'd had enough of going into armed conflicts with the blazing guns. To be honest, I just wasn't cut out for combat. My main downfall would be my tall build. A bigger body makes for a bigger target. In fact, most of the soldiers you see bragging about their prowess are the ones of normal height and build, people that wouldn't stand out at a glance. Occasionally, you'll see one of those big muscled gorillas like they show in the movies, but most of those either meet a quick death or go mad and become useless. To exacerbate the problem, I apparently had the disrespectful habit of treating the whole process as some sort of fearless game. I never actually intended it to be that way, but people had pointed out to me on several occasions that I intentionally avoided striking vital areas. Sorry. On the battlefield, where a split-second judgment could mean the difference between life and death, this was a fatal flaw. However, I had a certain talent in liaisons due to my language studies. For the second stage of my revenge, I began gathering experience in espionage and intelligence. Okay. When someone says mercenary, most people generally have the preconception of a soldier, and I was honestly no different. But as one would expect, the jobs requested by the clients that put forth the best pay are, naturally, quite difficult and highly confidential in nature. They usually have months, sometimes even years of planning to put into them beforehand. Also unsurprisingly, these jobs come with harsh prerequisites. One of the reasons Alan wanted to recruit me happened to be because I was Asian. Japanese people are a scarcity among mercenaries. Because of this, I was sometimes given opportunities to pose as someone of Taiwanese, Korean, or Hong Kongese descent. Is Hong Kongese a word? Okay, I did not know. Of course, I posed as an innocent Japanese tourist on occasion as well. This allowed me to get around and do my work freely without suspicion. I suppose I don't have to go into the importance of information warfare. Needless to say, the pay was on a completely different level compared to when I was an infantryman. But the risk involved justified that. Since mercenary work is not protected under any treaties or agreements, I was in danger of becoming just another unidentified corpse at any time whenever I infiltrated enemy territory with a fake passport. Since a dead man is difficult to track, I quickly earned a reputation as an excellent spy. On one occasion, when I was in Moscow placing bids on military-grade explosives, a very interesting story caught my ear. Oh, is this gonna be the event? Oh lord, okay. Yeah. A famous violinist by the name of Mishima Kaoru would be playing a concert at a nearby theater. The officer who told me of this said that there was going to be a high-ranking Arab official in the audience, and that he was keen on cooperating with America. Thus, he wanted to kill him. As one does. Jeez. However, my attention was purely on Mishima Kaoru herself. Oh, why? Ah, because he knew it was his wife. Okay. Usami Yoshinori's wife. Great. Let's kill him. The decision was no more difficult than deciding what to eat for breakfast. Oh god, okay. Sometimes when I read these things, I'm like, let's go back to the kinky scenes. I'm more comfortable there somehow. Oh god. Anyways, the officer returned a smile. Having built up a decent number of connections, I gathered a group of men that would do anything for money with the help of my mercenary friends. It mostly comprised bodyguards for high rollers in extensive drug cartels and kidnappers for hire. I acted as the team's commander. In an attempt to misdirect the police force, I leaked information beforehand that there was going to be a bombing at a bank across the city. It worked rather well, as the operation went off quite smoothly. I smuggled in the C4 personally. The image of a Japanese tourist, that incredible free pass to whatever event you may desire access to, worked brilliantly. I succeeded in placing the detonator, and then waited until Mishima Kaoru's performance to set it off. When I finished off Mishima Kaoru as she lay half dead from the blast, I felt a strange sense of anticlimax, like I had just finished my taxes or something. It was then that I first met her daughter, Usami Haru. She called herself Hero, probably from insanity induced by fear. How did he know that? I'm curious about that. How would he know that? People may be right about me when they say I have an irreverent habit of playing around. The video games I played with Kyosuke always had a righteous story about the hero whose village was burned to the ground. That reminds me I should do my taxes. Oh no. We don't need to do our taxes in Romania. Unless, I guess, I don't know, maybe if you're self-employed or something, then you have to deal with some paperwork. But if you just work for a company, there's no need to ever do taxes. I did have to do them in France. It was annoying. And I didn't really understand the purpose of it, but yeah. Right. After coming to terms with the loss of his family, the hero would gain power over time, and eventually come to defeat the evil demon lord, that is, Maou. I need to declare capital gains and some other stuff. Alright. If someone were to ask me why I didn't kill her, I could only answer that it was because I would be more interesting that way. No. To be absolutely honest, the conscience which I was sure I had purged began to ache. A father is a father and a daughter is a daughter. I remember feeling that way even after killing her innocent mother. My common sense ethics had warned me against slaughtering a young child. In the end, as the years passed, I ended up forgetting about Usami Haru. Anyway, I decided to let her off then, especially since I had to worry about escaping the authorities in time. After that, I tried to check up on my father's situation in Japan. His sentence from the first trial was death. My worst fears had become reality. Granted, whether he received life in prison or a mere 5 years, I still intended on putting my plan into action. Luckily, father had apparently taken what I said to heart, as he was in the process of an appeal. But the real kicker, what truly bothered me, was my mother's situation. When I secretly went to see her, I found her in a hospital bed. From what information I could gather, it seemed she had been diagnosed with a mental illness. Furthermore, she had been living alone for quite some time. Alone, I thought. Where had Kyosuke gone off to? When I discovered the answer to that question, I seethed with rage. My little brother, the one I had entrusted my mother to, had been adopted by, of all people, Azai Gonzo. and was devoting himself to the pursuit of pittance profit. I had changed so much that even my mother failed to recognize me. I grew more deeply absorbed in my preparations. When one works in the field of espionage long enough, one inevitably meets fellow intelligence workers from the private sector, namely from trading corporations. And when that corporation is gargantuan, as the Sano Corporation, it would be unheard of not to employ a few people with the little task of selling the copious information stumbled upon by the company. I grew close to one such person, and through him to the CEO. At the time, Sano was experiencing a few problems common to multi-billion-dollar enterprises. Meeting sales quotas in $1 million company is simple. One only needs to sell a few Mercedes-Benzes or a yacht, or two to maintain growth and revenue. A $1 billion company, though, is something else entirely. It's a near impossibility to hold such incredible capitalistic power without dipping into military affairs. In Sano's defense, they did have a secret factory in Latin America running to supply weapons to third world countries, but in the end it amounted to a mere fraction of a percent of the arms dealing business as a whole. Thus, I proposed that they used another company under their umbrella to export manufactured weapons out of Japan. Weapons exports are outlawed in Japan, but that is exactly why they would lead to profit if successful. There are a good number of independent weapon dealers in the world, people that sell out of an attaché case. I set them up with Sano, established a few bases along fishing harbors in Japan, and cultivated a market. My gains are usually counted in smaller cities? What? I don't hear. I see what you mean. I don't think I get any capitals yet. I got it. We set out from harbors in Niigata and Fukui, then made deliveries over the sea to a North Korean vessel. From there, we formed a land route from Pyongyang? I don't know how to read that properly, excuse me. To Vladivostok. Once in Russia, we sent our goods all the way to Moscow, and at that point, we didn't have to worry about being tracked. Sorry guys, your country is mentioned a lot, and not in the best light, I'm really sorry. Furthermore, while bribes won't work on customs officials in Japan, classic smuggling tricks like triple walling your shipping containers can sometimes get your exports through. And while spearheading Sano's darkest dealings, Maou was busy with a business plan of his own. I consulted with Alan. Par for the course. It feels bad every time they mention it with like this kind of nuance. It's like, you want to start up a mercenary contracting organization in Japan? Alan's eyes sparkled. He no longer treated me as the greenhorn child I once was. He now recognized me as a fully independent adult. I know that Japanese are in high demand. That's why I had my eyes on you. But Japan is a prosperous country. Who do you think is going to apply? I can't imagine there's much profit to be had. I do prefer it when they mention borscht, at least in passing. Though that is a political topic nowadays. Oh, why? Why? How can that become a political topic? I'm afraid to... I don't know if I want the answer, to be honest. Because... Okay. I understand. I knew that Ukrainians also make something either that's that or very similar. I knew that because I bumped into recipes that said Ukrainian when I was searching for recipes. But oh god, it feels bad. I'm so sorry.
物質的な豊かさに関係なく、心の貧しい人間というのはどこの国でもいるものだ。
No worries, Kennedy, no worries. Also, I'm so glad for a little bit of voice acting. Thank you so much. I don't know if you can notice that, but I've been running out of breath for a while reading all that text. Ah, thank you, thank you. For example,
未来を担う坊やたちです。
to a Westerner like Alan, the Japanese give off the impression of a very polite, punctual, and communal people, always concerned with what their family and other people think. For example, corporate scandals are publicly apologized for by a representative of the company. In the West, even heinous criminals don't apologize to the bereaved family very often. Some theorize that this sort of peer pressure or desire to fit in formed a loose standard that functioned as a sort of deterrent against the emergence of violent criminals within Japan. But in recent years, the change in social environment has weakened the sense of unity among Japanese, a trend marked by a rise in individualism. Heinous crimes committed by young children who received insufficient love and attention at home or have been ostracized by their peers in the community have gradually started to grab people's attention. I spoke to Alan about what I had read in a certain book, and then informed him of my own original delightful little proposal.
彼らに銃を与えてみたらどうか。
I mean, we also have a whole bunch of dishes that we borrowed from other people. We have a whole bunch of Turkish things going on that we eat a lot. Because we were under Turkish occupation at some point. We still consider it also as part of our traditions, because it's been like something that's been present in, let's say, Romanian cuisine for centuries already. So it's alright. It's alright if like people in different countries kind of have the same thing. And there might be some connection there because they're like either close by geographically, or there was some interaction between the two cultures at some point in history, and that's how the thing got passed on. I don't think it's that big of a deal. But yeah. For example, bullying is a problem in every developed nation. Yet for some reason, child suicide rates in Japan stand out as exceptionally high.
私はひどく悲しいんだ、アラン。これがアメリカだったら、銃を片手にギャングの仲間入りをするという道があったろうに。
If we can discover talented individuals and give them the proper training, you can bet they'll justify our investment when they become capable warriors. This procedure, almost akin to kidnapping, proved to be fairly successful in the West. After all, acting as a mercenary recruiter is a pretty extreme job, and while their numbers have certainly decreased, they're still in operation across many regions in Europe even to this day. You have my full support, Maou. Thusly, I began my roaming through the streets of Japan. My first targets were the children of corporate presidents and the bastard children of politicians. The rationale being that, behind this choice, was that if their training turned out to be a bust, I would at least be able to use them as hostages for ransom from their parents. You do like this whole hostage for ransom thing, don't you? I soon began to target lower-ranking members of organized crime rings as well, and then members of biker gangs or the like, who would soon be on their way into organized crime. The talent I sought was that of pitiful children who faced unjust treatment within their family, school, or workplace. Children with nowhere to turn but to violence. It's okay. It wasn't a fun ride, so no worries. One of my many pleasures was watching these children grow. I loved to see what they did with themselves after learning how to sell cocaine or being given weapons to rob a bank. The information network among children in Japan was not to be underestimated, as rumors about Maou quickly spread. Eventually, I did not have to go looking for talent. talent came to me. In all seriousness, though, it should be noted that it's natural for a boy to want to fire a, was that 44 millimeter? Like a 44 Magnum? I don't know how to read these, I'm so sorry. I know nothing about guns. Anyway, at least once in his life. A troubled family background isn't necessarily a factor there. Anyway, among all these children was an exceptional example of talent. Here we go. Tokita. My experience with female mercenaries was limited solely to rumors, as a testament to how rare they must be. It was such a shame that Tokita turned out to be an acquaintance of Usami's. Now then. The Supreme Court rejected my father's appeal for clemency just the other day. I made it just in the nick of time. If my father had been killed, my revenge would have no doubt spread beyond the city's borders. I looked up at the Sano building, the place my father once worked, and the place I utilized to assist in my arms smuggling. It's finally time to pay the piper, Sano. I'm here to collect my dues from the despicable organization that unjustly covered for Usami Yoshinori and sentenced my father to capital punishment. My only remaining worries are that Hiro and my traitorous kid brother Kyosuke. You like playing around, don't you? What a child. I close my eyes, and the image of that old Swiss training center comes to mind as I hear my instructor's voice. Okay then. Oh, so much text. I feel like I'm running a marathon or something. The next day, I invited Tokita to my apartment. How did Miss Noriko react?
Yuki, あまり一人で悩むなよ。
She seemed somehow discontent. Alright, now you can tell me all about Maou.
と言っても、ほとんどわからないのだけれどね。
Tokita started at the beginning, when she first met Maou. The more I heard, the more I understood Mao's true power. So what did Maou want from you in return?
それが全く。てっきり父を利用するのだと思っていたのだけれど。
I don't get it. What's he trying to do gathering these children? Maou seems to like playing with people's minds. Where is Maou hiding?
驚かないでほしいけれど、このマンションのすぐ近くよ。もっとも、複数ある拠点の一つなのだろうけれど。
Well, we have to start somewhere.
いえ、もうもぬけの殻でした。
Not a single hint.
それどころか、まるで私を嘲笑うかのように、部屋の鍵が開いていました。くまなく探しましたが、髪の毛一本落ちていませんでした。
Tokita spoke up as if pondering something.
魔王はよく山王物産のビルに出入りしていたようよ。うん。昨日も何か怪しげだった。
Then, as if she'd just thought of something, Usami pulled out the notebook she had sketched a portrait in yesterday.
この外人さんなんだが、見たことないか？
Tokita's eyes narrowed.
見たことあるわ。傭兵だって紹介されたけれど。
A mercenary?
名前は確かアランだったかしら。偽名だと思うけれど。
What did he talk to you about?
戦場での話を少し。と言っても、とっくに引退しているって言ってたわ。魔王とはかなり深い関係にあるみたいね。
This makes me all the more uneasy. Seeing as he managed to reel you, of all people, in, Tokita, Maou must be a highly skilled negotiator, correct?
語学は堪能みたいよ。警察のマニュアルにあるような交渉の基本的なスキルは熟知しているみたいね。何より人を騙すことにかけては病的なまでに得意だわ。
He probably is a little bit. There's probably something there, yeah. What do you mean by that?
本物の社会病室者はね、嘘を嘘だと自覚しないまま話すことができるの。彼は本物ではないと思うけれど、それに近いくらいの凄みがあるわ。魔王は人を手にかけることに何のためらいもない。
I nodded with a disgusted expression. The more I hear, the more I sigh. He's no longer the Kyohei I once knew, the strong, kind older brother who played video games with me. Well, from what he said, I gathered like he didn't really enjoy that much and he was putting up a front, mostly. Mao's aim is to free my father Samejima Toshikatsu.
となると、傭兵を雇って武器も指揮も潤沢にある魔王の行動は脅迫でしょうね。どこぞに爆弾を仕掛けたとか。
Either that or take hostages and hole himself up in the Sano Corporation headquarters. Ooh, final showdown location? They both nodded at what I said. I think Mao has a grudge against the Sano Corporation. Dad's trial was completely biased toward Usami for some reason. The backstory, the fact that you could sympathize with what Dad did, was barely touched upon in court and was never widely reported. I mean, didn't he have a lawyer? Didn't his defense lawyer have the chance to bring that up if he wanted to? Like, anyway. It's been rumored that the current director of Sano's senior management, one Mr. Someya, might have been keeping it covered up. They say that if Usami's evil deeds had been let out of the bag, Someya would have been arrested too. Let's scout around downtown for now. Usami came with me. You have to babysit Shiratori, right, Tokita? Why would she have to babysit her, eh? She laughed. Whatever, just get that money ready. We stepped outside. Okay, I will sit down for a bit. Alright. It was terribly cold. The winter cold pierces my skin. Looks like it'll snow again today too. Oh. Here's an unexpected caller. Aw, haven't heard her voice in so long. Oh, does she know about Gonzo? Yo, you overseas right now? It was Kanon, as carefree as ever. Ah. There it is. Someone must have called her about it. The wake is today. You don't have to drop everything to come back. Alright then, call me when you land. Later. I hang up, cutting her off. Why? Kanon didn't seem too shocked. She might be in denial about Gonzo's death. Now that I think about it, I can't help but pity Kanon. A popular figure skater with a Yakuza boss father. Gonzo's threats have kept the scandal surrounding Kanon to a minimum, but from now on, who knows? And just by being Gonzo's daughter, she's almost certainly going to face some discrimination in the future. Usami looked over at me in an attempt to read my mind. Usami, a single member's dark path can lead a whole family to hell. I know that better than anyone. I mean, he'd better at this point, after everything, no? Oh, I refuse to read that. You read it. This must be the reason I feel so off. Mind coming with me to the city offices?
まさか婚姻届ですか?
In contrast to Sami's fooling around, I wasn't in the mood for jokes. A few hours pass. Sorry for the wait.
まったくなんなんすか。嫁をハンバーガーショップに置き去りにして。
They said I needed 2 witnesses, so it took a while.
どういうことか説明してもらえるんでしょうね。
I'm not Azai anymore. Ah, okay, he wants to change his name. Okay, okay. I'm calmed down now. For a moment I was panicking. I was like, 2 witnesses? What does that mean? I just renounced my adoption. I'm no longer Gonzo's foster son. From now on, I'm Samejima Kyosuke.
マジっすか? なんでまた?
I just felt like it. Call it closure, I guess.
しかし、いいんですか?
Yeah, Gonzo's dead and all. There'd be no point in continuing to leech off his name.
自分はこれからあなたを何と呼べばいいんですか?
Maybe Kyosuke, you know. Whatever you want. Why not Kyosuke?
恥ずかしいんですよね、素で言うのは。
Renouncing my adoption does nothing but swap out one government printout for another, but I somehow feel as if a weight's been lifted off my shoulders. Mom is dead. Kyohei became Maou. And Dad... I've done nothing but run away all this time. I should go see Dad.
あ、ちょっと待ってください。これでカノンとも兄弟じゃなくなるんですよね。
What about it?
いえ、ちょっと焼きもちを。
In what way? You'd be cuter keeping quiet about things like that. Let's just head to the business district. We made our way to the Sano Corporation building. It must be a weekend, as there are abnormal numbers of people out today.
昨日は静かだったんですがね。
Central Boulevard was as lively as usual.
おい、今日
Oh! Long time no see. Yo, it's been a while. Still kicking, eh?
そりゃこっちのセリフだよ。事情はユキ様から聞いたよ。何二人してばっくれかましてんだよ。
No reason. I almost missed school, you know.
エテキチさん、その後のりこ先生はどうなりましたか?
Etekichi. Oh, haven't heard that in a while.
いやもう俺の女よ。この前優しいところ見せちゃったから、これからデートよ。
Sure, sure. I almost forgot about this guy's existence. Well, here it is. A big reminder. I wonder about that.
立てこもりの件に関しては、ユキ様を恨まねえよ。とりあえずビシッとしつけといたから。
頼りになりますね。
Ichi, you hear any strange rumors in town lately?
噂?
Concerning Maou or anything?
聞かねえけど、昨日の夜はなんか大きなイベントがあったらしいな。
What do you
い
mean?
や、路上よ。トラックが10台くらい走ってた。ホストの宣伝みたいだったけど。
10? You don't see that every day.
あとは、オフィス街へのメインの道路で事故があったの知ってるか?
Are you talking about the maintenance work going on up there? The thing about the sewage pipes or something?
破裂したらしいぜ、水道管が。
So the road's closed off then.
噂じゃ、なんかラリッタチンピラの仕業らしいぜ。作業員にいきなり襲いかかったらしいよ。
That's going a bit too far for a prank, even if the kid was high. Alright, thanks. Later.
デート頑張ってください。
おう。お前らもなんか知らねえけど、やばいことに首突っ込むなよ。
He saw us off with an uncharacteristically serious expression.
山王物産まで行ってどうします?
Scouting. We'll pretend to be clients and snoop around. If we're lucky, we might even get a glimpse of Mao, or Hashimoto, or that foreigner. What kind of clients can 2 high school students be for a corporation like that? I met the director of senior management, a guy named Someya, when Sano was developing the Eastern District. I'm not saying that gives me a right to barge in and make an emergency appointment with him, but it's a passable excuse for being in the building. Okay. the front entrance to the Sano Corporation headquarters. Despite the weekend, this building is in full swing. 2 black luxury sedans were stopped in front of the doors.
浅井さん、あの人って。
A politician steps out of the vehicle, surrounded by bodyguards in black suits. It's a man called Imagawa Tsuneo. He is a party leader in the government and is on the news fairly often. He has quite the influence in the federal government. He serves the prime minister devoutly, acting as the spokesman for most of his policies, and there are rumors that he'll run for the party presidency next term.
Maou は政治家にもつながりがあるんでしょうか?
If that's the case, he's probably not an enemy we can tackle on our own.
はるちゃん？はるちゃんじゃないか?
Oh! A voice suddenly calls out behind us.
あ、ゆうやさんじゃないですか。どうも。
It was Iwai Yuya. He has a baby face, but a tight body reminiscent of a gymnast.
偶然だね。元気にしてるかい？親父も何かとはるちゃんのことを気にかけていてね。
He had a gentle smile. One so bright it was almost blinding. Hey.
こんにちは。先日屋上でお会いしましたね。
He was the man who sparked the return of my oldest memories of Usami.
無事再会することができたんですね。
He seemed to be really happy about it. Yeah.
いやー、よかった。幼い頃の二人はまるで恋人同士でしたからね。
すいませんね。自分はあなたのことシカトしてたみたいで。
はるちゃんは変わってたからね。なかなか声もかけられなかったよ。
This man's atmosphere was somewhat similar to Tsubaki's, actually. He had the smell of someone who grew up in a happy family and led a happy life. I wonder what that's supposed to smell like.
そうだ、食事は済ませたかい？
いえ。
今ランチタイムでね。よかったら3人でどうです？
I accepted Iwai's offer. Ah, so sorry. Yeah, sure. We could eat lunch on the rooftop, like old times. Now I have an excuse for being in the Sano Corporation building. Unaware of my ulterior motives, Iwai smiled.
いいですね。3階にうまい弁当屋があるんです。
企業のビルなのにそんなのあるんですか？
レストランもあるし、郵便局の出張所もあるし、スーツの仕立てをしてくれる店もあるよ。最近じゃ歯医者もできたんだ。
You got everything in one building. These large corporations really are something else.
それじゃ行きましょうか。
He held out his hand to us like a gentleman. They say you can tell the kind of life a person has led by looking at his hands. I'm not that perceptive, but even I noticed Iwai's rough hand contrasting his noble, gentle, superficial appearance.
ああ、学生の頃日雇いのバイトをしていましてね。
He defends himself shyly. He must have noticed my staring. His father may be a Sano executive, but he doesn't have the air of a spoiled child with no concept of hardship. Iwai Yuya is the kind of guy I can't look straight in the eyes. Oh my goodness. A handful of men swaggered to the Sano Corporation boardroom. Though Alan may be retired from the mercenary business, he still walks with complete silence. The other 3 mercenaries posing as visiting businessmen were glancing at their surroundings. There's nothing strange about a few suits carrying briefcases through a general trading company. They had carefully studied the map of this building beforehand. They could make it to their destination with closed eyes. That destination was Director Someya's office on the 49th floor. As we suspected, he was busy with another visitor. Beside the locked door was a card reader, its red light shining to ward off any intruders. Ignoring the presumptuous LED, I slid a forged card through the slot and opened the door.
失礼いたします。
Alright. I courteously apologize as we walk into the wide room. Director Someya and the politician Imagawa were sitting down on leather sofas. Imagawa's secretary and 3 Sano officials were also present. Last but not least, 2 Secret Service men stood behind Imagawa. Bulges the size of pistols stood out from under their suit jackets. One of the officers, a greasy middle-aged man, was in a
ご
panic.
無沙汰ですね、染谷室長。その後いかがです？
All the men in the room shifted their gaze onto Someya. They're interrogating him with wide glares, asking, "You know these intruders?"
日中に会うのは初めてだな。いや、こうしてみると、やはり若い。
He spoke with resignation.
何の用かな、魔王。
さすがに肝が据わっていますね。この場で私の存在を隠そうとしないのは好感が持てます。
君は大切なビジネスパートナーだ。皆さんにご紹介しよう。彼こそが我が山王物産を陰で支えてくれた男だ。
どうもはじめまして。そちらは今川先生ですね。
Imagawa's face contorted a bit in response. I had obviously known about Imagawa's meeting with Someya beforehand.
実は染谷室長、今日は長年お仕えしてきた分の報酬をいただきに伺いました。
そうかね。
He nodded like he was prepared for this.
染谷さん、一体何が始まるのです？
The second Imagawa turned to face Someya, the sound of gunshots rang out, and the two Secret Service men fell to the floor. One bullet to the head each. It served as a splendid performance. After a brief moment of shock, the screams of executives filled the air.
お静かに。あなた方は殺しません。
The only ones not screaming were Someya and Imagawa.
一体何が目的だ？
He has no problem finding words even in this situation. Top-notch politicians are made of different
いい
stuff.
執務室ですな、室長。
I look around the room.
トイレもバスルームも完備ですか。そちらの冷蔵庫にはビールでも冷やしてあるのですか？
ああ、おつまみもある。1日や2日籠城するにはもってこいの部屋だよ。
What is this conversation?
助かります。では、全員私がいいと言うまで両手を頭の上に置いてください。そう、そのまま。部屋の隅に集まってください。
You mean spending the... What did he say exactly? Spending a night or two at the office as hostages? Is that the implication there? Someya encouraged everyone to follow my
指示に
orders.
従ってください。彼は本気だ。
随分と素直ですな。
いつかこんな日が来ると思っていたよ。なぜなら君は魔王だから。
机の下にある非常用ボタンを押さないのですね。
Someya feebly
警
smiled.
察の SP ですら瞬時に殺した君たちに警備会社の人間が太刀打ちできるとは思わんよ。今川先生もバカな考えはおやめください。
Imagawa had his arm to his chest, looking for a chance to get something from his pocket. He was most likely trying to get in contact with his bodyguards waiting outside. I was satisfied with the results. Now, there are 3 places in this building we need to secure right away. The first is the 49th floor, including Someya's office. We're currently there and it has been secured satisfactorily. We succeeded in capturing the hostages. Next is the 47th floor's computer room, which controls the entire building. A single supercomputer housed there regulates the skyscraper's ventilation, heating, electricity, and telephone system. If we can commandeer it, we can control all the passages in the building, be they 5 doors, emergency shutters, or the main gate. So I was right, this is gonna be like the final showdown location. Lastly, we need to keep our eyes on the rooftop. This is most likely insertion point, the most likely insertion point for any police operation against us. We need to have someone guarding the rooftop at all times.
この場は頼んだぞ。
I patted Alan's shoulder and left the room. Okay, so it's gonna go down. Yeah, I think it's a good moment to leave it for tonight and jump into it tomorrow. Everyone is gathered at the same location. They probably don't know about each other yet, but okay. Things will get crazy. All right, okay. Then we'll jump right into the meat of it tomorrow, I suppose. Oh, Kennedy, it's okay. Here, let's have it. There we go. Yeah, okay. Well, interesting. Curious to see where that goes. It's happening at the same time, right? So everyone is there in the building. Thank you for being there, everyone. I appreciate you all. That was just poof. Whenever they hit me with so much text, I feel so exhausted by the end of it. I don't know why. Yeah. Alrighty. Yeah. For now, I'm gonna go rest. I've unfortunately not managed to rest very well last night. It might also be a consequence of the time changing and like me not finding my rhythm in the first few days. It's always a bit of a I don't know. I guess I have a better time in October when the clocks go backwards because you get an extra hour of sleep or something. But when they go forward, it's I don't know. It's subtle, but I feel like I don't get back into my usual rhythm. Yeah. Yeah, I wonder why we keep doing it. We just, I don't know, I guess we got into the rhythm of it, and it's standard practice, and I don't know. Every time this either end of March or end of October rolls around, I see a whole bunch of like articles and stuff like, this we want to abolish it and blah blah blah. But it never happens. I've been hearing that for years. It never happens. It's like still. Yeah. Oh well. It is what it is. We have to conform. Sorry for those of you who don't do this thing and now the schedule is a little bit weird. This time it will, yeah, sure. I'll believe it when I see it. Yeah, I mean for the countries that still do it, which is quite a big chunk of them. I don't know. From my point of view, I would stay on the summertime completely, but I don't know. Anyway, it is what it is. Sorry about this creating some inconveniences, like having half a year be one way and half a year be differently. It is what it is, but yeah. I hope to see you again tomorrow if you feel like spending time with me, figuring out what's gonna happen with this whole hostage situation that we find ourselves in the middle of. And until then, take care of yourselves. Yeah, I hope so too. Take care of yourselves, rest, hydrate, eat good stuff, and yeah, see you tomorrow. Love you. Bye bye.